and you chose 0.56 instead of 0.12, because 0.12 what? It's not a very strong relationship, and I said it was a really strong relationship, okay? For those of you who chose answer other than negative 0.56, review this again, okay? Because this is basic, you should know this, okay? Okay, this is something you've heard many times before. You could probably say it in your sleep. You're going to hear it again after you leave this course, and you're going to hear it right now. And that's that correlation does not mean causation. We want it to mean causation. We're guilty of using language at times that imply causation based on a correlation. I do it all the time by accident, okay? Well-known researchers write up their articles all the time by accident using causal kinds of language when their data are really correlationally based. It's very tempting, but correlation does not imply causation. Why not? Why? I found this 0.56, negative 0.5 correlation, 0.56 correlation between chewing gum and getting lower grades. I mean, gum should be banned in schools, no? I mean, it's really bad for academic success. Why can I infer causation there? What's the problem here? Yeah, you, Batman. What? Okay, he's talking about third variables, confounding variables, okay? Other variables that may be actually making the two variables, chewing gum and academic success, appear related, but it's really only because they're both related with a third variable, or fourth variable, or fifth variable, or sixth variable. I'm going to go through examples of this. Was there another reason why we can infer causality? That's called the third variable problem. What's the other reason? It's in a lot of ways a lot simpler. Yeah. Yeah, the reverse causality problem. Here's the deal. Correlational research designs, by definition, they involve you going out there and measuring things as they naturally unfold in life. I'm just going to measure how many packs of gum you're going through during class, just as you normally might chew your gum. And I'm going to measure your grade performance, okay, your grade or exam performance. Because I'm just measuring these things as they occur in life, I don't know which comes first, chewing gum or bad grades. Or does bad grades stress you out and then you need to chew gum to relieve tension or something like that? We can't know that. For causality, you need to know what comes first, chewing gum or bad grades or good grades. And you can't know that typically in a correlational research design. These two problems are known, again, as the reverse causality problem and the third variable problem. So if you look at my little algebraic, very complicated formulas thingies there. Reverse causality problems, you don't know if X leads to Y or Y leads to X. Chewing leads to poor grades or poor grades lead to chewing gum. And the third variable problem, we don't know if there's this third variable associated with both X and Y that make X and Y look related just by virtue of them being related to A, okay? I can't think of a good example for this one, chewing gum. What might be a plausible example for this absurd example of chewing gum and academic success? What could be a third variable? Tiredness. So being tired is really associated with chewing gum. Okay, let's say that's true. And being tired leads to poor test performance. Okay, here's a better one. The self-esteem and academic success one. Maybe, good parenting is what accounts for both. Okay, people who have high self-esteem have really attentive, responsive parents, and people who do well in school have really responsive and attentive parents. And it really has to do with this A variable, this third variable, good parenting, that leads to this relationship, this apparent relationship between X and Y. You with me? Yes, no, questions? Let's see how much you're with me. Here. Okay, hold on, I'm not starting the cooking yet. Okay, I am. But you can't answer yet since I don't have the choices. Okay, imagine you find a positive correlation between driving speed and hair loss. You want to conclude that driving fast causes hair loss, but you know, because you heard Professor Chen say, that you can't do this on the basis of your correlation alone due to the reverse causality and third variable problems. Which of the following is an example of a third variable problem in this case? A, hair loss could just as easily precede fast driving. Age is associated with greater hair loss and lower driving speeds. C, men are more likely to experience hair loss and to drive at higher speeds. And D, people who drive convertibles are more likely to lose their hair. Okay, A, B, C, or D? All right. See where we're at here. One more. Great. Okay. And the answer, which I hope is the highest bar, is Okay. Those who chose A and D, you're in the minority. Okay, so listen very carefully. B and C, maybe it's a bad question. Totally plausible. Okay, B and C, let's see what it is. Okay, why is B wrong and C correct? Okay, B was kind of one of those sneaky little things that I do. Okay, but B is wrong. C is the correct answer. But why? What's wrong with B? What makes B wrong? Yeah. B is implying a negative correlation. I said there's a positive correlation between driving speed and hair loss. So you got the idea right that there's this third variable, age, but it was explaining a different relationship. Okay, it couldn't explain the positive relationship we found between driving speed and hair loss. You with me? So C is correct because gender is associated with both This is not true, or maybe true, I have no idea, but gender is associated with hair loss and with driving at different speeds. Okay, you with me? If you got this right, you got third variable confounds. That idea confounds here in correlational designs. Okay. Now, one of the things that I really hate for people to walk away with when they're being taught about correlational research designs is, man, all right, correlation does not imply causation. What is the point then? Forget the correlation business. You go straight to the experiment land. Okay, but we still use correlational research designs, and that's because there are advantages to using correlational research designs. So let's pause for 1 second and tout the benefits of using correlational research designs. There are 3 that I can articulate. One is the fact that it allows us to assess behavior as it naturally occurs in everyday life. And isn't that ultimately what we want to understand and explain behavior as it occurs in everyday life, not as it occurs in a laboratory setting where you're manipulating and trying to push people to feel or see certain things? I want to know, is chewing gum related to academic success as it naturally occurs? I don't want to force somebody who would normally chew gum to chew gum and then look at whether they do better or not. Yeah, I might want to experimentally, but first I want to establish that there's a relationship to understand in the first place between chewing gum and how well you do in school, or whatever your hypothesis is, between self-esteem and academic success, between media exposure to violence and aggression. Okay? So it allows us to assess the very natural kinds of behaviors we're seeking ultimately to explain. Second, it allows us to study variables that can't be manipulated in the laboratory. Okay? I may be somebody interested in poverty. I may be really interested in the effects of sexual abuse experiences. I may be interested in the effects of smoking or high drug usage. Okay? These are important things to understand. You cannot manipulate these things easily or ethically. Okay? And so when you rely on correlational research design, you can still get some insight into the nature of relationships between these really important variables and their possible associated outcomes. Okay? So it allows you to study some really significant kinds of issues. Third, and this is something that we always talk about in my lab and in social psychology in general, Correlational research designs are typically lower investment in terms of time and effort, and they're relatively easy to conduct because often they might just involve sending out a survey where you indicate how many hours of crime, TV, football, whatever media violence you get exposed to, and then you indicate your likelihood. You answer some sort of aggression questionnaire or something like that. It's low effort kind of data to get oftentimes, and it provides a lot of assurance because if there is no correlation between these variables in a correlational design, there's no association. You would be well advised to be hesitant to go forward with an experimental research design because there's no causal relationship to try to pin down if there's not a correlational relationship. So oftentimes it serves as a low-effort, low-cost first step. Let me first establish that chewing gum and grades are connected at all, and then I'll try to establish that one causes the other. Okay, likely in that example, I'm going to find no correlation between chewing gum and bad grades, and this will tell me wisely to go study something else. Okay, so it gives you some assurance, it gives you some insight into whether there is a relationship to try to unpack at all. Okay, so many good reasons, strong reasons to still do correlational research designs. Okay, remember the pact we have. 10:54, I get my 6 minutes, and you do not rumble. Okay, let's turn to experiments. We're going to start this. We'll finish up on Wednesday. Experiments are sort of really the bread and butter of a lot of social psychology. We have variables in experiments as well, just like in correlational research designs, but we have special names for these variables in the land of experiments. We call the variable that we want to argue or hypothesize is the cause, because in experiment land, we're interested in making causal conclusions, drawing causal conclusions. We have the independent variable, the variable that we think is the cause, and we have the dependent variable, the variable we think is dependent upon or is caused by, is the outcome variable, the effect that we're interested in looking at. So chewing gum is my independent variable, academic success is my dependent variable, media exposure to violence is my independent variable, aggression is my dependent variable. Okay, let's move forward. We have these special names for them. And what you should realize, again, is that the same variables we look at in correlational research land are the same ones we would look at or could look at in experiment land. So intergroup contact and prejudice, now we're just putting labels on them as IVs, independent variables, or DVs, dependent variables, media exposure to violence and aggression, number of bystanders around to an emergency situation, and whether or not that causes increases and decreases in helping, a very significant hypothesis in social psychology. Is internet use related to depression? When the internet first exploded and you had all these people spending hours on the internet, which is a given nowadays, there was a lot of concern that, and there still is, that too much internet use may be not good for your psychological and mental well-being. Okay, internet use being the independent variable, dependent variable being depression. Now, the thing you need to know, here's the critical thing. So perk up here, okay? In an experiment, the general idea here is to create 2 or more conditions. Let's just take the 2 condition case because it's easier. 2 or more conditions or levels of your independent variable, and then look at differences in your dependent variable for those 2 different conditions. You're trying to make a comparison between high levels of media exposure to violence versus low levels of media exposure to violence on aggression. Do the 2 conditions, high versus low levels of media exposure to violence, lead to differences in level of aggression? That would be some evidence consistent with the idea that media exposure to violence, different levels, cause different levels of aggression. You need at least 2 conditions. I could have 3 conditions, high, moderate, and low exposure to media violence and aggression across those 3 conditions, but you need at least 2 conditions. You need to be comparing. And that's what you do in an experiment. You create these 2 conditions, 2 or more conditions, and you look at its impact on the dependent variable, the thing you're interested in. You with me? Okay, can you guys give me an example here? What would you do for intergroup contact and prejudice? What would be your 2 or more levels of your independent variable? Okay, does someone have another example? So saying somebody isolated, absolutely no contact, or some contact with members of a group? Yeah? Okay, now that is that yours is fine, and it is creating 2 levels, and one could argue that's high and low, or high and no intergroup contact. Yours is also high and no intergroup contact. But there's something a little bit more elegant, and we'll get more into this in next lecture, but because in both her conditions, what's neat is that in both conditions, people are interacting with somebody. So that's kind of cool, because that's kind of the same across conditions. I'm going to talk about why that matters. And the only thing different is whether the person that they're interacting with is a member of their own group or non-member of their own group, right? There are other ways to there are other ways to create your 2 levels of your independent variable here. I could have, in both of my conditions, I could have everybody, both conditions have 6 people groups always. But in one condition, and they're always made up of 3 boys and 3 girls. And in one condition, I have to fill out a questionnaire about gender, making gender very salient, right, on top of people's mind. And in another condition, they fill out some bland questionnaire about the environment, okay? And the idea here would be, in the condition where I make gender salient, maybe people would be interacting more as members of different groups, as, hey, we're the boys, we're the girls, kind of thing. And then the other group, other condition, the groups wouldn't be thinking about each other in terms of boy versus girl, that sort of affiliation, okay? What we're getting at here is there are many different ways to bring to life these different conditions. And that is so much a part of what's fun about designing and actually conducting social psychology experiments. I'm going to stop there because I want to stick to my end of the bargain, and we will go into this deeper on Wednesday.